guys, in this video I thought we would go back and revisit the Sideshow Collectibles Harley Quinn 6 scale figure. Though Harley Quinn's first appearance was in Batman the Animated Series, her first comic book appearance, on the other hand, was in Batman Adventures number 12 in August 1993. Taking the old tape measure, Harley Quinn stands pretty much exactly at 12 inches tall. She unfortunately doesn't have the greatest of times standing, and it's not actually so much the same reason as Joker. Joker's problem was he had very thin shoes. I found like he didn't get enough footing to whatever surface you had him displayed. Harley Quinn, on the other hand, if you look at her boots are perfectly flat, so it should theoretically make the figure stand perfectly fine. But over the course of time, so sad to see, Harley Quinn has gotten a little loose, not only in her leg joints, but also in the ankle areas of her feet. So getting her to stand without a display stand can be, unfortunately, a little tricky. I've entertained the idea of actually trying to get her clothes off. Hold on a second, you perverts. Trying to get her clothes off and trying to put it on a brand new female 6 scale body to see if I can maybe fix that problem. Because I like the figure. I certainly just don't like the fact that it's incredibly loose. Now, I wanted to start this beginning of this review with the way she essentially comes out of the packaging. She comes with the face sculpt, the one of 2 different face sculpts that she comes with. But you probably, if you have collected this figure, one thing you will notice, there is no bodice. She comes with like this little girdle, little halter top, I suppose. I guess it's a girdle. She came actually with that on. And in no way, shape, or form was I going to tell myself I'm going to re-review this figure with this on. It may be fine for some collectors of Harley Quinn, but knowing that this could come off, this was the very first thing that I took off when I got the figure. Because to me, it doesn't really so much scream Harley Quinn. And actually, that was one of the concerns that I had, and it was almost the deal breaker for me. If this wasn't capable of being removed, let me just show you how it would have looked on the figure. Oh, I don't even want to insult the figure by putting it back on, but that's essentially how it looked, and of course the straps were over her shoulder. My biggest concern when I first saw production images of the Harley Quinn here was, could this come off? If this was sewn to this, and this was all one outfit, pass. I wouldn't have picked it up at all. But then I found out you could actually remove it. And again, that was the very first thing I did when I got Harley Quinn. This came right off. Before, though, we talk about the figure a little bit more, let's have a look at the display stand that she comes included with. Now, she gets a little bit more of a jazzed up stand than what the Joker had. The Joker had just a circular stand with ha ha ha. She actually instead gets the more traditional, now frequently used, Sideshow Collectibles hexagonal display stand, which, as you can see, has a nice spiraled effect here. Kind of like a bullseye. It looks like there possibly could be blood. I'm going to go with paint. I'm going to be thinking it's more so paint. And it's look up and smile. It probably is blood. It does have the adjustable crotch clip, which, again, just hinges up and down. Definitely would be needing this in the case of Harley Quinn. I'm actually even surprised. I don't even want to jinx it. I'm surprised that she's standing, to be all honest. But she does come with a display stand. Stand looks good. Other than the bodice that I've already taken off, or girdle, this is, again, the look that she gets, the defaulted head sculpt, when we get her out of packaging. I honestly don't like this head sculpt. Not one bit. There's things I do like about it. Like, I like the eyes. I like kind of like the nose area. But then I found, personally, that she was extremely gummy. In the sense that, well, she has quite a bit of gums showing. Now, I end up actually having to replace this head. Not replace it with the other head, but replace the head altogether. Because when I initially got the figure, she had heavily, even more of the gums actually were visible. It's almost like they added too much pink to the teeth. And luckily I was able to contact Sideshow Collectibles. And I asked them, I sent them photos. I said, is the figure supposed to look like this? And they said, actually, no, there was a problem, I guess, with the paint. And needless to say, they replaced the head with this one right here. It's still, I find, excessively gummy. From the side, it's not as bad. If you really look at it from either side, it's not really all that bad. But then when you look at it from the front, something seems really off. Like the face paint is good. The eyes are done well. She has a little bit of rouge added to the cheek area there. But I find the smile kills it for this figure. If her teeth were just brought up a little bit, where it was more teeth showing than gum, I think actually this would be an ideal head sculpt. The one thing I also do find that this particular head sculpt suffers from is that the pom-poms coming out from her cowl are too short. They're a little, I mean, they are rubbery, and as well as showing you here, but I find they're too short. I would have liked them to about be like this long. I would have loved them just to be extremely long. And I do honestly find that they're a little too short for my liking. Now, she does come with the alternate head sculpt, which we will look at right now, which is kind of looks like she's having a bit of a pout fest. It kind of looks like she's just being really playful, but I prefer really like this head sculpt more so. I'm just going to go ahead and take the head off the torso here, because I know sooner or later the figure is going to topple over, so I think it's just easier to look at the head sculpts as you see right here. Now, again, between the two, this, I guess, a more traditional Harley Quinn. I usually display her with this head sculpt, in all honesty. I think it's just much more playful. And this one actually has also much longer the pom-poms here. Now what you can actually do, though, is you can take these off. They're actually just on ball joints. Take them off. Now it seems weird having Harley Quinn without them. You just pop these off. And it technically does, if I can actually get the ball joint completely off here, it technically does give you the option. Let me just pop this back in first. There we go. It technically does give you the option of swapping out and replacing the longer ones with the shorter ones, like if you wanted something a little bit longer. Let's go ahead and put that back in so I can show you what I'm talking about. Unfortunately, I won't have a before and an after because you physically can watch that I'm doing it. That looks a little bit more accurate. And just to give you a comparison, there's what one of them look like. See? That's what one of them looks like. That's the longer ones. Longer ones look a lot better. Even if I don't like this head sculpt, those look a lot nicer on Harley Quinn. I'm actually even surprised that they gave us the short ones in the first place, because really the long ones are, I would think, the go-to that most people would probably do when it came to Harley Quinn here. Getting a look at the rest of her body, it's your traditional classic Harley Quinn with the Harley Quinn colors of red and black alternating squares. And she's got little diamonds here on her legs and diamonds on her shoulders. Again, the figure looks really good. The stitch work is fairly clean for a fairly old figure. She's also got her jester collar going there, which has a fair bit of paint. They didn't just phone in, completely just painting that white. Looks like they've added a little bit of like blue wash to it, just to bring some of those little wrinkles out and stuff like that. To pair them with the collar, she does also have her little cuff collars, a little cuff, whatever you would want to call those. Cuff frills, if you want to call it. We'll go with that. And, they don't quite have the same coloring as the collar. You seem to get a little more on the lighter gray versus the white at the top here. Kind of wish that was a little bit more a whiter color, in all honesty. And again, she has that on both sides. Diamonds on the sleeves and diamonds on her tush. Her feet, they went with the route of giving her kind of like Doc military style boots, Doc Martens almost. And I do think they work fairly well with Harley Quinn. You can see that they've even got the Joker heads on the tips. I'm guessing these would be probably steel plated. steel-toed shoes. The laces are done pretty good, actually. A little bit of a dark wash added to around the stitched areas, and some silver there on the diamonds. A little bit of silver there on the back. And there's the undersides of her feet. Now if we tilt the feet sideways, it says there's Ack, and I'm guessing there's Pow on the undersides of her treads. Having been forced, unfortunately, to bring in the stand, because her legs were getting really too loose for my liking, let's have a look at the accessories that come included with the 6-scale release of Harley Quinn here. She comes with a fairly nice sculpted hammer, which has some exquisite looking faux wood on the, not only on the mallet portion of it, but also on the handle. The handle looks like it's been taped up, and again, really reads to me as wood. On either side, even looks like a very worn stump. And on this side, it says "Your Face Here," which is very funny actually. And you got the actual bands of the top part of the mallet here, painted very nicely here in almost a rusted red, incorporating some nice browns in there as well. Exquisite detail though. It's actually one of the nicest looking mallets I've seen with a Harley Quinn figure. And this is also one of the reasons why I wanted to go back, and a lot of these figures why I like to go back and kind of revisit them. Now that the lighting's a little bit better, the backdrop I like to think is a little bit better. Gives me a chance to kind of showcase these figures in a better way than I thought perhaps I did them the first time around. So she does come with a mallet. Now I will say though, as I'm pointing the mallet at Harley Quinn, the mallet is heavy. It's not considerably heavy for myself, of course, to be holding, but you can only imagine the arms and elbow areas of Harley Quinn are already loose to start off with. She really does struggle holding this. I would not entertain the idea in any way, shape, or form to actually try to have her holding the mallet with both hands. It will not work. She just drops the mallet. Also, at the beginning of this review, I had the mallet over her shoulder. I would only use that really as a short-term fix. I would not be displaying her with the mallet over her shoulder. It would add some extra weight and off balance to the existing loose joint problems, so I wouldn't probably do that. One of the other cool things that she comes with too is a pop little cap gun here, has a little squinty face there on the end. And again, you've got your cork. It's got a little string. So again, you can either have it displayed as if she's already fired it, or you can kind of tuck it in there, and it looks like, you know, she hasn't fired it yet. I like the gross, over-proportioned size of it, which really adds to the comedic effect of these accessories. I also like the red and the white alternating checkerboard. Some nice gunmetal painted on the actual top portion of the gun. And they've added a little bit of scratching there as well, just to kind of give it that look that it's aged. I could also imagine too that perhaps this was a white and red, and now of course the white has yellowed, not by age of me owning the figure, but they've gone in and they've kind of aged the white, again, to make it look like the gun she's had it for a fair long period of time. Harley Quinn also comes with a series of interchangeable hands. Currently she's got two in her sockets right now. This one's kind of neat though. She comes with one that is a syringe. If you want to be displaying her with that. I would never display her with that, but I think that's kind of cool. She also has an equally cool one that's ha ha ha, some brass knucks. She actually doesn't have a black hand that has another brass knuck on it. It's the only hand that has one. And she's also got a trigger finger for the cap gun. And then she's kind of got the same quantity on the other end of the other hand, I should say, in black. But again, like, these are kind of just for holding. There's another trigger finger hand, and then she's got this hand here as well. I'm sure one thing you would want to see as well is how does Harley Quinn look next to the Joker. Here's the Joker that we just recently re-reviewed, and I think they actually work well. Harley Quinn, of course, stands a little bit taller than Mr. J. I've actually also got the legs not completely straight on Joker. If we just straighten up his head here, they're about, give or take, they're about the same height, I suppose, once we've straightened off the head of the Joker. I think they pair well. Joker might feel a little bit, I think, more cartoony, a little bit more comic book designed. Harley Quinn kind of has a slight more realistic look to her, which is actually all the more reason why I usually display Harley Quinn with the kissy face instead. I think it actually fits a little bit better, in my own honest opinion. I think it fits a little bit better with Joker than the original defaulted head. Still really don't like that these are really short. Swapping them out obviously is the alternate fix to getting around that, but I really feel like these should have been long to start off with. Looking at Harley Quinn's articulation. Now this, unfortunately, is kind of where it gets a little bit more disastrous just by virtue of how old the figure is. She does have a ball joint, and it actually looks like there's the ball joint at the base of the neck, but also in the socket area of the head. And just by nature of the way that these peg into place, you also have ball joints working here too. So you can actually hinge these up and down. You can rotate them up and down. You know, you get a couple of different options going there. Arms hinge outward, and again, it's just really loose. It's kind of sad. It's sad that the time takes tolls on collections, and unfortunately Harley Quinn here is a bit of a victim of that. She does have a hinge in the elbow, a rotation in the hand. Again, the arms aren't terribly loose, but I would definitely not say, put the mallet in her hand. I think that would be really bad choice on any collector's part, just by virtue of how loose these limbs already are. And I really haven't been displaying her with the mallets holding or over her shoulder or anything like that. She has the upper torso crunch as well as a fairly adequate waist swivel. You can also see too, like the fabric doesn't hinder any bit of the motion. You could say maybe a little bit in the shoulders, but everything else seems to be perfectly fine when rotating and posing the figure itself. The saddest bit of articulation, sadly, is the legs themselves, especially forward and back. This is where this suffers the most. The legs do go forward and back, and they split outward. I would love to try to find the means to try to go in there and fix this up. I'm not really sure how I would go about doing it. If I can't actually fix it, I mean, obviously the alternative is just keeping her on the display stand, but it's sad to see how a figure gets loose over time. It has a bend in the knee, and you can also rotate the lower leg based on where that hinge is in the knee. And then she's also got a ball joint, kind of a hinge joint in her feet here. Much like the Sideshow Collectibles Joker, the Harley Quinn, also from Sideshow, is one of my favorite pieces in my collection. I've always really wanted a 6-scale figure release of Harley Quinn more akin to the cartoon comic styles, and I really think this one does deliver. She has a few shortcomings, yes. I think the defaulted head, I really don't think that it needed as much gum as what we ended up getting in the head sculpt. I also kind of wish that the pom-poms, or at least the extensions out from the cowl, could have been just a little bit longer to, of course, accentuate that aspect of her costume. This head sculpt, the one that we currently are looking at here with the puckering face, that's kind of like the one I like to go to as my favorite head sculpt for this particular figure. And it's generally the way I display the figure is pretty much what we're looking at right now with the cap gun in her hand. Yes, I'm probably adding a little bit of stress to the elbow. Yes, that could have also added to why the elbow is loose now. But I think this is my favorite look for how I like to display Harley Quinn. Despite all its flaws, and despite the fact that over the course of time the joints have loosened on this figure, I still cherish this particular Harley, and she always stands in the forefront of my collection. Today we were having again a look at the Harley Quinn 6-scale figure. We were going back and revisiting this figure. As always, guys, if you like this video, hit it with a like down below. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe yet to this channel, hit that little subscribe button and you won't miss a beat when it comes to future videos. As always, guys, thanks for watching as you always do. I'll see you next time.